Hi, my name's Suzy and I'm here to tell my fertility journey. My husband and I always knew we wanted to be parents. We tried everything. This went on for at least a couple of years because the NHS won't look at your situation until 2 years. We sat down with our GP and the first thing he said was, it's easier for us to test the male fertility side. We went and saw top specialists who discovered that yes, there was a blockage. Through operating, they could actually withdraw the sperm, but it would mean that IVF would have to happen. It was all very successful. We had our consultations and then it all began. My husband, bless him, offered to do the injections for me. I said, no, thank you. I'll be the master of my own destiny. I remember having to watch the video whilst I still had the needle in me. Through it, we had really good success rates, had the embryos implanted. Then you're sent off for the 2-week wait. Nobody ever prepares you for that one. The next thing you do, you test. And it was negative. Yeah, my whole world was just shattered because it's a situation where people say, is it actually a baby? Well, yeah, it is. We were told that sometimes the first time it doesn't work and, second time it's often more successful. Nothing. And it sounds silly, but people would say to me, does it get easier? No, trust me, it doesn't. It gets harder. I was living life as Suzy and I was living life as Suzy with IVF. I didn't want to tell people. I didn't want to keep going over my story. We went back to them and said, look, this is not working. This is now number 3. Why don't you test me? And we were just told, it's just chromosomes. Okay, you have to take the advice from those doctors. My body was getting tired. And me and my husband, we went through some really tough times together because then obviously he was blaming himself. And yet I know he so desperately wanted to be a dad as well. Eventually we had 6 cycles and then the funding ran out. Luckily, we both had fairly good jobs and we'd built up savings. So we decided we'd go to a fertility show in London. I think there was more pressure when you're paying privately, without a doubt, because it's a lot of money. We're not talking £100, £200, we're talking thousands. And had lots of blood tests and they came back and anyway sent me for natural killer cell test. It came back and I've got a really high level. At least I've got a reason for this. And we went back to the clinic with that information and they said, right, there's things that we can do, and they give you lipid infusions. Of course, this came with complications because obviously now I was in London, so I couldn't drive there. I had to go by train, and of course I was still working. Still no baby. That was when my husband stepped in and he said, enough's enough, you can't keep putting your body through this. That's when they started to say, just not sure that you two are just compatible, and that's a really hard thing to hear. We went away and we decided we just want to be parents. We went to an adoption meeting. We fell in love with every single child that they talked about at the meeting. We were like, yeah, let's bring them all home. When you've had IVF, you have to wait a certain period of time. In that meantime, we went back to our clinic. At that meeting, they said, there is one more option left. We've been thinking you're a candidate for a donor eggs or donor sperm. If you want to have donor eggs, there is a wait for that. It's about a year. With donor sperm, it's readily available and that would happen a little bit quicker. I think I was still sort of trying to get my head around the whole thing of actually me and my husband not having a biological baby together. And my husband went, it's a no-brainer. Let's go down the donor sperm route. We want to be parents. We've talked about adopting. This way round, I can be there from the beginning. And I thought that was really honourable of him. So I said to the clinic, how is this going to work? And he said, well, it's about an 8% chance. I remember thinking, 8%'s not great. But you know what? If it had been 1%, we'd have tried it. We spoke to a counsellor about it and she said, you two are so ready to be parents. So the next stage is that you then get copies of who they've got on their sperm donor register. You don't get to see names, but you get to see like their occupation, their blood group, those sort of details. And I said to my husband, I don't want to choose. You've had that taken away from you, you choose. And he said, I want to have a donor that maybe looks like me. So we went through it and then we went home for the dreaded 2-week wait. There was no way I was going back to sleep that day. I thought, right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and test. I took the courage to look at it and there was 2 lines. So I woke my husband up and I went to him, I hate to say this, I think we're having a baby. You need to get up, I need another test. And it was literally like the happiest day of our life. So yeah, then we went to our 20-week scan. We was expecting everything to be fine. The sonographer, she said, I think there's something wrong with your baby's heart. That's when we were referred to the Royal Brompton in London. I even went to that scan thinking they've got it all wrong. We were told that my baby would survive, however, he would need surgery straight away. And she told me to go away and whatever you do, don't have him early. 5 weeks later, my waters broke. I was rushed into hospital. My baby was born, fighting for his life. And then 2 hours later, that's when the neonatal unit came rushing in and said, your baby's poorly and he may not survive. I remember thinking, this can't happen. And I said, has he died? And they went, no, but we've lost him a lot of times. I just begged them. And I remember sitting outside and I remember seeing a board with all the babies' names on. For the first time I saw my baby's name and I was like, I've got my baby, he's still here. It was lots of ups and downs. He's still here and he's nearly 10 years old. It's been worth every second.